Types of interviews: telephone or the pre-interview, traditional interview, behavioral interview, lunch interview, panel interview, extended day-long interview. But first, a quick note about staffing companies and interviewing. Guys, if you're working with a staffing company, they are trained in this stuff. They're good at it. Pay attention. If you're working with a staffing company and they start teaching you how to interview and they start prepping you, pay big attention. They spend an enormous amount of time training for this stuff, and they do it because they're in the business of selling people to get a really good paycheck. They're going to interview really, really well. So pay attention if you're working with staffing companies. The telephone or pre-interview, this is your first impression, and you know the saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So don't answer the phone and go, yeah. Have your accomplishments worksheet handy, top of mind, because the first line from a recruiter is going to be, tell me a little bit about yourself. And everybody, the standard answer recruiters get is, what would you like to know? Really, you sent your resume to me and you're applying for this position and you're saying, so instead when somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself, well, you know what, Jim, I'd like you to know that I was responsible for 49% of one sales, one organization I worked with, generated about $1 million in revenue. Is that something you'd like to know more about? Wow. You just went to the top of the hit parade, guys. That's how you do that. Anticipate screening questions. And listen, a lot of people think screening questions are against the law, against the rules. Bull, they're totally. The law says they have to treat every candidate exactly the same, as long as they're asking the same questions, and it's not illegal to be asked your age. A lot of people think that's wrong too. It's not, as long as they do it with everybody else. Whether they're doing it or not, I can't tell you. But anticipate screening questions. Can you pick up 35 pounds? If the job requires it, that's not against the law. Stand and smile, even if you're on the telephone on a telephone interview. The energy follows. That's a standing radio thing. In radio, stand up, the energy's there. Salary may or may not come up. You should have a range in mind. You should know what your range is. Never tell anybody, I need $100,000. I need $60,000. Have a range. I need between 55 and 60, if it comes up. Traditional interview is simple. It's usually hiring department. Managers generally have no interviewing training. That's a fact. So to a degree, you can control this interview if you know the STAR technique. And I use STAR because a lot of people know that. Actually, you guys already know the STAR technique. It's called beginning, middle, and end of accomplishments, the net result. But STAR is S-T-A-R. That's STAR is, the S-T is situation and or task you needed to accomplish the situation. A is the action you took, keeping the focus on you. R is the results you achieved. Now I'm seeing more and more interviews now coming out where they're following up with 3 other R's. The risk you did what you did, the reason in doing that you did, and the relevance of what you accomplished. And I'm seeing this from national organizations. Traditional interview type questions. What do you see yourself doing 5 years from now? What's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? Let me tell you what, let me give you a really good answer to greatest weakness. Because that's a really hard question to answer, and personally I won't accept that question. But what you can say is, I think the better answer would be, you could address my weaknesses as we move along and I'll get better for you. I don't want you to go say, well, you know, I don't really like to come to work and stuff. That doesn't help. So you might want to think about that. And once again, you can Google these and find some great responses. They're expecting the canned response, so personalize it. What qualifies you for this position? What's the most recent book you've read? Really? Yeah. What can you tell me about my company? If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? I'm not joking. I'm not making this stuff up. In traditional interview type questions, you can see this kind of thing. The behavioral interview is a bigger deal and a big difference. Tell me about a time when you hear that, you better be prepared. These are people who know how to interview, because these are tough questions. If I was to ask a previous boss about how you did, these are hard questions to answer, and their accomplishments worksheet, all that work you have done, is a perfect place in order to have the response. You know, what that accomplishment worksheet was about was somebody asking you a question without ever breaking eye contact. I just start telling you the answer because I've worked this accomplishment worksheet. I wrote out that paragraph of the details. I'm ready to answer. Tell me about a time when, yeah, you know, I'd like you to know about the time that I was responsible. Go straight to it. It's based on the idea that the best way to predict future performance is to examine past situations. It's also seeking very much to see how you think on your feet. They're going to try to paint you into a corner. Your accomplishments worksheet is the heavy lifting. This is where it's going to pay off. You've already done all the work for this. You're really ready. It can be difficult, which it is meant to be if you're not prepared. Once again, if you've done the accomplishments worksheet, you're prepared. So let me go ahead and go on to the lunch interview. And I appreciate what you're saying, Kara, so this is going to be interesting. This is an observational interview, guys. They're observing you. Use your napkin. I actually talked with somebody not too long ago who told me that master's candidate they flew in from out of town, who they took to lunch, the napkin never came off the table, and he did not get the offer. It's just that simple. Really, yes, but that's how that person would be in with their client. So that's really important. Do not plan on eating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kara had said, well, do not order the most expensive thing on the plate. I agree, on the menu. I agree with that, except just order a chicken salad because you're not going to eat. They're going to keep you talking. They want to see if you're going to talk with your mouth full. And that's why I have Power Bar. Before you go out to lunch, go into the men's room or the ladies' room and swallow a Power Bar. Just chunk that thing down because that's all you're going to get for lunch that day. That's it. I'm serious. You're not going to eat. And this is deliberate. This is by design. Plan on talking a lot because they don't want to see if you're going to talk with your mouth full like you might in front of a client, which is a very bad thing to do. Be polite to waitstaff. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that, be on your best manners, but I'm telling you anyway. They're noticing all that stuff. Panel interview. This is becoming more and more common, more and more prevalent, panel interviews. You're in the spotlight or the hot seat. You may have to deal with multiple questions simultaneously. That's by design. That's deliberate. They want to see how you handle it. It's okay if you say, hey, Bill, hold on a second. I'll get to your question. You were saying, okay, great. Let me answer your question next. Or let me finish up what you were. Keep control. They're trying to put you on a hot seat. Keep control of the situation. It's not that hard. You can say, that's a great question. I'll be right back with you. Hold that thought. I'll be right there. It's okay. They want to see if you're in control of the situation. The reasons for interview panels are becoming more and more prolific, but bad hires destroy careers, guys. It happens. Somebody makes a bad hire. That can reflect on you if that person works for you. This minimizes making bad hires. Work team oriented. You may be interviewing with an entire team of people that all work together, a department, a manufacturing plant, whatever. They want to make sure that everybody's going to be able to get along with you. The ability for the company to see several candidates at once. Now, a panel interview can be that. If they're going to take, I have a friend of mine who a year or so ago, took a panel interview and had 6 to 8 people at that interview. One was from Atlanta, one was from New York City, one was from Chicago, and the interview, I think, was in South Carolina. If they're going to clear all these people's schedule and bring all these people in who were not productive that day, they're really going to nail it, and they're going to make a decision at the end of that day. So panel interviews it's an ability for a company to see several candidates at the same time. Often the hiring decision is made very quickly, and this is why you cannot forget your thank you cards. You make sure everybody on that table, everybody in that panel, and even if you go from room to room, office to office, conference room, you make sure everybody gets a thank you card. The day-long interview, pace yourself. It's going to be a long day, and it's going to be on a very strict and hard schedule. At 8 to 8:15, you're going to be here. At 8:15 to 8:25, or 8:35 or 8:45 till 9 o'clock, you're going to be here. And you're going to meet with a VP, and then a senior vice president, and then maybe the HR professionals. It's going to be a very long day, and it's also just to see how well you hold up. Interestingly, you're probably going to meet your competition if it's a day-long interview because they brought people in from all over the place, and they're going to structure. So when you're in with somebody at 8:15 to 9 o'clock, the other person's from 8:15 to 9 o'clock seeing somebody else, and they're comparing you guys right there on the spot. It's probably going to be timed and highly structured. It's okay to repeat yourself. You're only you. You're going to be asked same and similar questions to a degree. Remember, your audience is new each time, but they're going to be comparing notes. So you want to, be able to embellish something or minimize something that you said somewhere else. Lunch is going to be included, so see lunch interview. Use your napkin. The future of interviewing. Video interviewing services. These are becoming very, very common. And I'm going to show you on the following slide something I got just this week in my email for a company, a very major company, which I took their name out, offering video interviewing services. Skype, Why not? This is great stuff. Now this is past. None of this, I don't consider any of this discriminatory at all. They've already gotten past the interview piece. The resume piece and all that's gone. So we're moving into a place where you're really gonna, hopefully it's a touch point, it's just that it's electronic. YouTube. Now this one is kind of weird in the sense that I worked with a guy and I couldn't believe it. And this is so interesting because he was applying for a position in library sciences with a county library. And they sent him a list of 5 prepared questions, and they asked him to go on YouTube and prepare and answer, read the question and then provide his answer, and then put it up on YouTube and then send them the link. I didn't like that. YouTube could go anywhere, and he didn't get the job either. So I was like, it really stinks. And I said, send me the link. I want to see this. He sent me the link. And I thought that was kind of advanced for a county library to do it. It was a small town. It was a really small town. But I was like, I don't like that idea of putting it out there on the internet, me personally. Pre-recorded telephone pre-interviews. Oh my God, I hate these. Yes, you dial in and then you hit 1 and there's your first question and you answer it and then you hit, whatever, start, stop, 2, 3, and it goes to the next question. And yeah, I hate those. No people action, no interaction. I hate those, but they are in existence. Mobile devices, interviewing apps. This is in the following slide as well. Native video interviewing. I like this. I love this term. And internet people are always coming up with great terms. Native means it will reside on your mobile phone. That's all native means. But anyway, this company, and I copied and pasted this. Here's how it works. This is from their email I got. You determine which candidates you're interested in and then send them video interview requests directly from their candidate records. That's called an applicant tracking system from the ATS. No more sinking time into scheduling and phone screening. That's my highlight. Wow, you're not going to have to talk to real people. That's what it says. And BrandX video interviews feature questions from your hiring team that candidates simply record answers to using a webcam. They're going to use their phone and do FaceTime. I thought this is a little weird because, and I understand once again it's a tool, but at a certain point, I don't know. So you request the interview, they record responses on their own time and from their own locations, especially if they're sitting in a bar, which is a great place to do it, and send them back. If you know someone isn't a good match, simply fast forward to the next candidate's interview. Wow, we didn't have to even deal with real people. You're just a piece of video now. I don't like that. Can you tell? But it is what it is, and I'll tell you what, I'm not against technology by any stretch, but I always prefer at some point when we get to this place, let me shake hands, let me meet with somebody, at least telephone me, something, whatever.